Hello, I'm Neil Nunes with the BBC News. The warring parties in Sudan have signed a deal to alleviate the suffering of the civilian population. The agreement includes commitments to allow civilians to flee the conflict zone and guarantees the safety of humanitarian workers. But the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces were unable to reach a peace deal. Julian Bedford has this report.
This is a grudging, imperfect agreement reached on the 6th day of talks. But for civilians who've borne the brunt of close to 4 weeks of fighting, it offers the prospect of some respite. To date, the two warring parties have fought out their deadly power struggle with scant regard for human life. Residents of the capital Khartoum have little food, water, electricity or access to health facilities. Whether conditions will now improve depends on how well respected this latest agreement is. Previous deals have not been well observed.
The United Nations World Food Programme is appealing for urgent funds to provide rapid food assistance to more than 2 million people in Chad. Many of the Sudanese fleeing the fighting have been seeking shelter there. The WFP warned that food for refugees and internally displaced people would come to a halt this month. There are fears of chaos at the southern U.S. border with an impending change in the rules on migrants. COVID-era legislation, which allowed those who cross illicitly from Mexico to be sent back swiftly, is set to expire shortly. That's been replaced with rules meaning they'll face lengthy bans and possible criminal charges. Alejandro Mayorkas is the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security.
Our borders are not open. People who cross our border unlawfully will be promptly processed and removed. Smugglers have been long, hard at work, spreading false information that the border will be open. They are lying.
2 days of high-level diplomatic talks between the United States and China have taken place in Vienna. They brought together Washington's National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and Beijing's top diplomat Wang Yi. More from Charles Haviland.
These talks took place away from the media glare, and a former US diplomat said this was positive as there was no public sparring. The two governments issued coordinated statements afterwards, both calling the meeting candid, substantive and constructive. Sensitive issues were discussed. Wang Yi highlighted China's position on Taiwan, while a US official said Jake Sullivan raised the names of detainees held in China. Bilateral relations are tense, not least because of February's row over an alleged Chinese spy balloon. But this tentative diplomatic thaw has led to speculation that Presidents Biden and Xi might meet again.
World News from the BBC. A former U.S. Marine is to be arrested on Friday and charged with second-degree manslaughter after he applied a deadly chokehold to a homeless man on the New York City subway. Daniel Penny says he acted in self-defense. The victim, Jordan Neely's death, has prompted protests, with some calling it the lynching of a black man. More than 330,000 Colombians are reported to have been displaced last year, the highest number in a decade. Studies by aid agencies have found that almost 10% of the country's population is now internally displaced. Non-state armed groups are responsible for much of the forced relocations. Thousands of J-pop fans have submitted a petition demanding the powerful Japanese talent agency Johnny & Associates investigate allegations of sexual abuse by its founder. In April, a former singer publicly accused the late Johnny Kitagawa of abusing him when he was 15. Astronomers have discovered the biggest explosion ever witnessed, more than 10 times brighter than any known supernova. The team says it happened nearly 8 billion light-years away. Here's Palab Ghosh.
The researchers believe that the explosion was a result of an enormous cloud of gas, possibly thousands of times larger than our Sun, being swallowed up by a supermassive black hole. This would send shockwaves across space and leave superheated remnants of the cloud surrounding the black hole like a giant ring donut. The team's research suggests that the explosion has lasted more than 3 years. In comparison, most supernovas are visibly bright for only a few months. Nothing on this scale has been witnessed before. The researchers say that although such events are extremely rare, they could be an important process in the evolution of galaxies.